How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. It is that time again. Time to get into some animation, time to get creative, time to get some inspiration, time to get into some imagination. And today's inspiration is brought to us by the amazing art and artist that is Samwise Didier. He is great. He is one of my favorite artists of all time. I really got into his work in junior high. He's one of the main forces behind Blizzard Entertainment's art style, and he's just in every interview that he does, he brings not only just an amazing talent to it, but a real amount of personality. And so I had a couple of quotes that I was able to find from him that I really liked, and he was talking about. He was asked a couple of questions, and one of his responses was, wherever I go, I try to have a pencil and paper handy, so that whenever something comes up, he can just draw it out, or he can get those ideas out and make sure that he stays fresh, that he doesn't lose, a fleeting idea that might be able to be something that he can build upon later. And I think that's a great mentality to have. I try to do that as well, but I mess up quite a few times. I don't always bring that journal with me that when I should. And then there's another one, and for me it's always been about art. So my master plan is just A, B, C. Always be creating, and I think that's a great mindset to have. That in your master plan, one sec. Sorry about that. Something at the door. The dog was going crazy. But having your master plan always be creating, no matter what your mentality is, no matter what your field is that you're working in, or what medium you're working with, to have that mindset of always be coming up with new ideas, always be pushing yourself, always trying to come up with different ways of doing things. And then the other one was just kind of this, well, let me read it to you. We made a real cool art style here, that is my opinion, similar to some of the old Disney movies, where it may not be the highest technical quality, or it's not pushing the most polygons, but it's just a fun style, Mickey Mouse is still popular around the world, and he's not the most technically evolved character around. Characters like Popeye are still around. Characters like Scooby Doo. If you just make something that's cool and people enjoy playing it or watching it, that's the first thing, right? And if you can make an art style that can still hold up over the years. And I think that's a great way to approach your work, and to not be too over-involved or worried about all the technical aspects of whatever medium it is that you're working with, but to just try and do something that speaks to people, or that reaches out and can touch people, or that people can resonate with. And I think that's really important in your art, to try and have, maybe you're not as advanced as you want to be yet, but you can still make stuff that talks to people, that speaks to them. I mean, look at like the folks over at Cyanide and Happiness. Their art is really minimalistic. It's like a circle head, a square body, and then stick arms and legs. But their humor reaches out, and it makes people laugh. And it doesn't matter that their art is simplistic. It's universal, and that everyone can draw a stick figure, so you know what it's about. And it's got a style to it, because it's not exactly like your typical stick figure. So I think there's something to that, and I think that's what's helped with Samwise and Blizzard Entertainment. If you're not familiar with that, it'll be in the comments below along with this interview. But their art style has helped keep their products having a long lifespan, where other products and other games or other art, things will look dated. If you look back at like those earlier Final Fantasy movies or Final Fantasy games or whatever, which are great and really fun, but they do feel there's not this sense of permanence to them. Unlike, if you look at like the original Super Mario Brothers, there's something that's universally, like, we're okay with that art style still progressing through today, because it's very simplistic, and it just speaks to us as a culture. And I think that's important in art, whatever medium it is, that you try to have some universal truth or some universal appeal to it, and that'll help elevate your art, even if you're not as technically proficient or pushing the limits of what you can do or what medium you're with. But if you can have something there, and I think that's an important takeaway from this. And then above and beyond that, just figured I'd share a couple little pieces of his art style with it. I mean, look at the line work there, just the amount of personality you get just from a sketch like this is great. And the anatomy is all solid. He's got the foundations right. And then he's got that definite sense of appeal that is pretty much now in today's world it might be a lot more prolific, and this might not seem as unique in art style, but when they were first doing this, there really wasn't, aside from like the old was it Rankin and Bass, the old Lord of the Rings cartoon movies. That was about the only thing that kind of was edging into this style, but I feel like it's a more refined version of that. But I really love his work. It's great. I will link all the stuff down below. If you aren't a fan of his, check out some of this stuff, and I'm sure that you will become one very quickly. Alright, without further ado though, let's get into today's animation. This is the Jin Rig. It is by On One Animation, which I will link. It's a free rig that you can grab in the information below. I've never used this rig. If you're not familiar with kind of what we do with these videos, you're anywhere from about 45 minutes to about 2 hours, depending on the rig, depending on the idea, depending on if we come up with any technical errors or problems or anything that we have to work through. It's kind of an over-the-shoulder animation. We give ourselves about 48 frames. And a little bit of instruction, a little bit of theory, a little bit of talking about the creative process, and just go from there. So if you do enjoy this series, remember to throw it some thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any ideas, thoughts, comments, critiques, concerns, any of that kind of stuff, definitely throw it down in the comments down below, and I'm happy to address any of those things. And without further ado, let's get started. So let's go ahead and create polygon primitives cube here, just so we have a base to start off with. And let's turn our grid off, and let's turn our NURB curves on, and just gonna do NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons. So let's do none here. And that'll keep it so that we're not messing with anything that we don't want to here. So kind of for this one, I was thinking we could do more of like a shy walk. Figured that would be kind of good for this character, and we haven't really done something like that. At least not recently, and I don't know if I've done one on one of these videos before. So first thing we want to do is get down a good like storytelling type pose that kind of gives a little bit of personality here. So let's get into here. Like I said, I've never used this rig before, and it looks like it's a really pretty good high quality rig too. So let's go ahead and turn our textures off though, just so that we don't get as much lag from that here. And this should be let's grab the spine controllers here. Let's kind of pull them down there. Let's push that. And we can pull it back a little bit. Don't want to push the hips out too much though. Let's see if we can offset there. Yeah, that should work better. Then we should be able to pull that up. And rotate those back. That looks pretty good. And then let's go ahead and pull the neck forward a little bit. And what's this? It's a second neck controller? That's interesting. Usually there's just one. So let's go ahead and figure out which one we want to use, which one's going to give us better. Yeah, let's just not bother with that one. Where there might be some like kind of really animated or over the top cartoony movements that would be helpful for using that neck or not. I feel like that's not something that we're going to want to get into. It'll give us too much of a broken neck. Either that, or let's try using both of them in conjunction and see if that's a little better. It might give us a little bit more of what we're looking for. too much over in the neck. We'll play with it
here. Nissan Altima, con hasta 270 caballos. Siente la emoción de un Altima en tu tienda Nissan local.
One of my top favorites of all times for illustrators. It's really got an imaginative, creative mind, and there's a real... I don't mean this to be condescending at all, but there's a real simplicity to the way that he makes things. In what I'm saying, like it's a universal appeal quality to his work that I really like, and he can take even like you know, gruff orcs and ogres and all that stuff, but put this appealing shine to them on top. So even though you know, like deep down there, they might be angry or gruff or intense characters, there's just an overall likability to his stuff that I don't know that I've seen that in too many other illustrators' work, especially stuff that isn't like I mean, I guess Blizzard's pretty big and pretty well known right by now, but when they were first when he was first doing that stuff, there wasn't really a lot of design that was like that in the gaming world, which was really cool. It really got me really passionate about that company at a young age. I'm trying to do one of those kind of where you just hold it, just because it makes it a little more shy. And don't be afraid too, when you're getting set up with your posing and stuff, to try and mimic that stuff in real life as well. There's nothing wrong with looking a little silly to try and see what you might be missing body mechanics wise compared to what you have in your imagination. Intersection going on. Oh, this is kind of a different way to finger fold kind of thing. Interesting. It's just like kind of a universal curl, I guess. Just a different way to set up your rig for sure. Start off with, let's do one by one just to make sure. Actually, those two fingers are okay. So let's go here, finger fold one, and finger spread one. Okay, I guess it's just kind of each individual digit has their own thing. There we go. It's a little bit better, and we'll clean that up a little bit more as we go along, but I think this is going to be kind of a good way to start this one. We'll do a little tiny swing in that arm, but not too much, and we'll keep those feet together. We'll do some small steps, and I think that's a pretty good setup for this one. So let's go ahead, and before we do anything, let's go ahead and save our scene, and we'll just call this Jin Walk. And again, the site that you can pick this up on, unfortunately, I should have done probably a little more research through it, but I believe it's an animation school that is outside of the United States. I want to say it's unfortunately I don't want to say the wrong thing. It looks like it's probably from somewhere in the Middle East area school, because they had different translations between English and then a language that I'm not familiar with. So be not be aware, but just recognize when you go to the site, if you're going to try out this rig, that there's going to be that component. But it's pretty cool. I've never actually seen anyone use these rigs before, and so far it seems like they're really well made. So I'm excited to try these ones out, and that's kind of another thing that I wanted to do with this series that I hope that you guys are enjoying is you know, kind of scour the web and find different rigs that maybe you know, you haven't seen or you didn't know were available to try out before. So I hope that's a good service that I can share with you guys too. And if you are a content creator, or you make your own 3D models or 3D rigs, don't be afraid to send them over to the channel. You can send me a message or email me, and I'm happy to try out your rigs or make a little video using one of your rigs as well. And let's just set up the foundation for this animation, which is just pretty much going to be the feet and the hips. We got to nail those before we can really get any further in this one. And then let's think about the timing. I think we'll just keep it to our kind of our neutral 12 frames per step, rather than, we could slow it down a little bit, but I think this will be fine. We don't really want it. It's not really a slow walk. It's just kind of a shy. And we kind of want to make sure that we're doing fairly even steps for right now. We can definitely go in the graph editor and tweak that stuff a little bit more once we get there. But it's good to check the kind of the spacing between the feet as well. So this one might be a little too far forward. And make sure those are lining up pretty well, and that'll give you a good indication if that's gonna work out right, so it doesn't feel like, and now it depends on the walk that you're doing. You know, maybe you want it to have one big step with the left foot and one small step or stutter step with the right, or vice versa as well. But for this one, we want it to feel fairly even and fairly not vanilla-ish, but I guess that works. Just like a universal walk. There doesn't need to be anything super fancy or eye-catching with the feet. We just want them to work correctly. So let's go ahead and clean up the root controller here, and this is just going to be the left to right movement on the hips, and we want that to be fairly even. So just flatten that out a little bit more here, and let's go ahead and just watch that. Okay, that's working okay. So just Control S and save that, just so we make sure we're not losing a step, just in case anything happens. And don't be afraid to save multiple versions and to save often as well. So we're just going to lift up that foot for that passing position, and make sure we got our keys down there, and lift up the foot for this passing position, and bring it down there, and lift up the foot there, bring it down, and lift up the foot. Make sure we got everything here, there, and bring it down. And we're just kind of building. It's more kind of a layered approach there, and those steps are going to feel way too high for more of like a shy or kind of reserved walk. We don't need any big steps. Let's go ahead and tone those down, and also kind of even them out so they're a little more balanced, so it doesn't feel like one's a really high step and one's a really low step. They don't have to be exactly the same. We want a little bit of variation because it's not a robot walking. And then let's go ahead and drag the foot back. But I do really like this rig. So far it's working really, really well. I like how it's animating, doesn't really have a whole lot of deformation going on through any of the bends or anything. And by that I mean like there's no kind of squishing of the polygons together in the rig itself while we're animating, which I still feel like those steps are just a little too big, so let's go ahead and pull them down even more. because you want to feel like for this rig, we almost want to feel like it's almost like a burden to pick up those feet, and not like she's in pain or anything, but just that she's not putting a lot of effort into lifting them up, so we want those to be kind of smaller steps. Okay, and let's go ahead and do, is this the toe? No, it's just like an IK switch. So let's see, we got a toe controller here. Toe roll. No, that's going to be, so let's see, toe bend. Yeah, there we go. Make sure we did that toe roll there. Let's go into that toe bend here. I'm just going to drag the toe a little bit, just so there's a little bit of overlap on that toe to keep a change of shape going on throughout that foot. It's a little squash and stretchy there, but I think that'll be okay. Kind of feels as though it's changing volume a little bit, if you notice that. But I think when we watch it at speed, it should still play out okay. And let's go ahead and do that on the other side here as well. So let's do a toe bend there, and lift it up, and put it down here. And if you noticed, with this channel we do a lot of walks, and I think, well, one of the reasons why I do them a lot is because there's something that is really important and rather kind of challenging to wrap your head around as a beginning animator or intermediate animator. And even, you know, depending on the rigs, they can be challenging for, I'm sure, even more advanced animators with all the amount of controls that you're using and everything to it, because you have to get a good balance between everything, and you have to have everything working in a walk. Or if you're doing more of an acting shot, you could have basically, you know, the character sitting here and just a couple hand moves and some facial expressions, which, you know, you really gotta get a lot of nuance and a lot of subtlety in there that you might not have to do as much in a walk with that. But you do have to get, you know, you have to make sure your hips, you sell your hips, that you sell your chest, that you sell your legs, that you sell your feet, you sell your things with your arms, that you have some movement in the head, and everything has to work together as a cohesive unit. And I think they're one of the main things to practice as an animator and to push yourself forward, because once you kind of understand a walk, you can take the movements that you've done there and you just kind of plug them into different spots, and then they work well throughout subtle movements or more acting moments as well. And I think it's a really good foundation to start with. Of course, once you know, I guess like the bouncing ball would probably be the, you know, earliest thing to get started with. But I think, at least with this channel, I try to do these at kind of beginner intermediate level, so that you know, people who are just starting out could probably learn some stuff. I try not to do them at too high of a technical level, but at the same time, we do a lot of concepts that I'm imagining if you're just starting out, you probably have to rewind or go back in the video and rewatch how to do that. So I'm trying to kind of bridge that gap between, you know, this is how to open Maya and this is how to use this controller and that controller, versus the really nuanced technical videos that you might see from more professional places, where they might talk to you about a shot for, you know, like 10 or 15 minutes and then show you the completed shot and not really give you like an over-the-shoulder kind of why they did what they did as they were doing it, or how they kind of troubleshooted through difficult spots and everything. So I hope that these videos are helpful for you, because like I said, with this channel, I really wanted to bring something out there that I would have wanted either right before I went to school, or while I was first starting in school, or starting learning in animation as well. So there was more of a resource for that, and also so that those of you working out there and animating yourselves every day had kind of a buddy in the trenches, or a show that they could listen to or while they were animating. So let me know what you think down below in the comments, if you think there's things that we could change with the format, or things that we could do different, or if you're enjoying this series. and what you're learning through it, or if you're having troubles and I should slow down, or if I should go with more. Okay, that's way too much movement in the hips, but we want to do a little bit of up and down to add some weight, and a little bit of or rotating the hips to favor those forward movements. But it's overall it's just way too much here, so we're going to scale that back a little bit more. And then we also need to offset it in the chest, so go back and that'll help us as well. And actually, let's try flipping this so it's less. Let's do one a little more up and down than that. And let's still tone down that movement on the hips a little bit more. But that being said, kind of going back to what we were talking about a second ago, I was talking to Chalkin over from Sega Fans. I want to favor that. We're just kind of rotating the chest to offset what the hips are doing here. And he had suggested that maybe I do some videos really focusing on like how to animate just the eyes, or just the feet, or just the head, or do kind of a little bit of a series like that. And I've been kind of tossing ideas back and forth in my head on what to do for more of like a basic series, because even though I try to approach these from a very simplistic level, I know that some of this stuff might be a little more advanced than people who are just starting out. So I want to have enough resources for everybody doing that. So I might do a series like that where it's like how to do a blink, you know, and close the eyes, or how to set the eyes up, or how to do a head turn, or just how to approach fingers, or something with kind of a little bit of shorter format video, but more in-depth on one aspect of character animation as well. So let me know if that's something you think would be worthwhile. I think I'll probably, when time permits, try throwing up a couple of videos like that, see how the response is or anything as well. And let's do a little bit of rotate on the hips here. So there's a little bit of rotate this way and that way, just to favor that planted foot, and we also are going to have to sway those hips a little bit more as well. And let's clean that up in the graph editor here. That might be a little too much, but we'll get it. We'll worry about it once the did some chest animation here. And we want to sway the hips a little bit here, a little bit there, just so they favor that planted foot a little bit more, so the weight's over it. And pull that back, and let's even those values out and probably tone them down a little as well. Right now it's feeling a little penguin-y for me. Waddly, I guess would be. So I want to clean that up a little bit more. And let's go grab this stuff here. And I'm just kind of doing it so that there's a stretch and a squash back and forth between the hips and the chest. And we'll have to tone that down a lot too. The only reason we don't want to do too much is because we're going to get some intersection on the hand there, from the hand into the thigh. We want to be careful of that. So let's go ahead and tone that down a little bit more. Oh, and for all you big animation fans out there, let me know down in the comments below if I should go see Inside and Out. I'm sure I know a couple of folks that worked on on that. I'll have to check and see if any of my buddies did some extra work on there, but it's been getting great reviews. From what I can tell, everyone's really liking it. Still feel like there's a little too much rotate Y in those hips, so let's go ahead and tone that down even more. And then that probably means we'll have to tone down the rotate Y in the chest as well, so that that's not going too much. But let's go ahead and watch it and see if that feels a little better. Yeah. Definitely too much. The thing with this walk, since we have more of like a reserved walk, is we have to be able to sell the weight and sell those movements, but have them not really be too bold and in your face, since it's more of a reserved walk or a shy walk, or that kind of feel to it. It feels a little better. Maybe we still want a little bit in there. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of swing in this arm here. I think we're just gonna, instead of having this hand be about grabbing that arm, I want to do a little bit of swinging that arm, so I'll just have it kind of cup the ribs kind of over there, so I'll kind of hold the tummy instead of that. I think that'll be, I don't know, maybe we'll keep it like that. Let's go ahead and rotate this hand a little bit more this way, just so that we don't get as much intersection with the thumb through the thigh. Let's go ahead and do you want to do that? Let's go ahead and pull that thumb in there. You got some thumb twist there. Fingers here, they're too default staticky for me, so let's see. Finger one fold, pull them out there. Finger two fold, we'll kind of go in a little bit more. And then let's kind of like splay them a little bit, give us a little more intriguing hand pose there. And hands are a big thing too. I'd like to do a video just on hands. Hands are one of my favorite. Hands and heads, I think, are how to get the most expression out of a character. I mean, of course, there's the whole body, and you can use the whole body, but I really feel if you can sell facial expressions and you can sell what they're doing in the hands, you can sell feeling for a shot. And the rest of it is all unless you really screw it up. I guess that's a harsh way to say it, but unless you're really not doing kind of the basic body mechanics, they can help, but I don't know that they're something that you need to for acting purposes. Whoa. Kind of zero that out. That was kind of funky. still going. Okay. Man, I can't wait until I can build a better studio and get some better audio equipment so I can deliver these videos a little bit more without extra audio coming in. So my apologies for that, folks. But I hope that it's not too distracting. Okay. It's working alright. Let's do a little bit of rotating the elbow, not too much. So do a little bit of swing to that elbow. Just a little bit. Let's see. It's working okay. I feel like since we did that, we need to pump up the movement in the arm a little bit more. And then maybe tone down that elbow move a little bit more as well. Let's see. So let's see. Maybe a little bit more. I'll have to readjust that hand there. I don't know, maybe just a little less on the elbow. Okay, let's go ahead and see that now. Okay, let's do a little bit of swing in that wrist there as well. Let's see. We gotta find a kind of a good camera angle to work with here. Let's go ahead and tilt the head. She might be a little shy, but then she's kind of looking up a little bit. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of hold that initial position a little bit more and then hold kind of the end position a little bit more. And we don't want to do too much of a quick movement. I like that it's kind of slow rise. So let's see. Cut that down by about a couple of frames there. Give us about 4 more frames to have that move go, because I kind of like it slow up. And let's go ahead and delay the head by a frame as well. Actually, let's do 2 frames. Blink here. We got an eye controller blink. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah. And Up lid, up down, lower lid, up down, up lid. Okay, let's do that. Let's pull those down and lower lid. Okay, do a little bit of a blink here. Let's do the lower lid a little bit less. No. Okay, let's see. So we got there. Let's hold 2 until about 13. Break it down. Still don't really like that lid. Let's see if we can't get a little bit better. Upper outer, upper mid. No, let's undo that. Just want to get a better curve in there. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, there we go. So we want to set that there. Let's go ahead and delete that. Delete that, set that, and move that to 14. Let's see. And then we'll hold that for a couple of frames there. And then we'll do this and about there. So let's see. Let's hold that a little bit longer. Actually, let's give us like 6 more frames there. So it's not just a blink, it's more of a hold. And let's delay everything about 4 frames. Because I kind of want them to hit when she blinks and then looks up. The eyes kind of lead it a little bit. There we go. I feel like it's taking too long to close, though. It shouldn't take that many frames, so let's shorten that down by a frame. Let's see. Let's take, what do we have for the upper lid, and let's lead that by a frame so that they don't hit at exactly, upper and lower lids don't hit exactly at the same time. And one of those is taking a little bit. Okay, you know what? Unfortunately, the lids aren't really set up in a way that they're like merging between the two, so I guess I'll kind of keep them at the same frame rate, even though I would like to delay the upper and lower lids by a frame. And let's start her off with a little bit more of a closed. Let's see. there no like left or right on the corners of the mouth here? Which part? I guess that gives us a little bit more. It's a little bit better, I guess. Not exactly what I was going with, but we can make that work. Let's see. There's a little bit of a smile. And let's go ahead and we'll hold that for a bit longer. And then we'll leave what we have there for just a few frames, and we'll let it take a while to get over. It's a little better. Let's just do a little bit of animation on this. Just so there's a little bit of sway on this arm too. We don't want that to lock up. A little bit. Feel like there's, and let's do a little bit on the wrist as well. movement on the fingers here. Not do as much of this, but just a little bit, just so that there's some change of shape there. Okay, yeah, let's tone that down. I think that idea will work okay. A little bit of sway in that elbow. Just I didn't want it to lock up completely in there. Even though we've got a little bit of movement in the arm, that elbow's pretty fixated where it is, so we want to try and get a little bit. That helps a little bit. Let's take this guy and we'll lead it a frame here. So, let's delay this one a frame. Just so there's a little variation in that hand and not all the fingers are hitting at the same time. Let's go and watch that now. Just adjusting this pinky a little bit more so that we make sure that it's kind of planted over there, or at least gives that appearance there. So let's go and watch that now. It fits a little better. Okay, let's go ahead and save our file here again. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of animation and fingers on this hand a little bit. Just do a little bit of sway there in those fingers. It's kind of strange that the way the sway works in these ones is that it's kind of a little bit of a palm sway as well. But that's okay, as long as it gets us that feeling there and that we're not really breaking like the volume too much with that, because if it starts looking like it's not going to hold form, because that should be bone there, then you might be doing it wrong, so we'll see. And let's see, is there a spread here? There it is. Okay, we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll delay it a little bit. Let's do one more. Go ahead and do. I know that that's all the spread that we get there, so that's okay. Let's grab everything and we'll delay it one more frame just so they don't hit at the same frame the wrist does. And maybe we'll go ahead and lead with that one, so we'll push it forward a frame and delay that one, so we'll pull it back a frame just so there's some variation there. Let's figure out what we like posing wise for this one. So let's take the spread there and we'll pull it back a little bit more. Pull it back a little bit. There you go. A little more spread there. just so there's some variation. It doesn't feel completely the same here. Let's see. We kind of might have to play this up a little bit more as well, since the angle that we're going to be going with isn't this one. We want the field to still be there. So a lot of times what you have to do is over-exaggerate when it's not something that's playing exactly to camera, so that the feel can come through, even when it's not in the exact angle that you're doing it on. Let's go ahead and grab the thumb here. So there's a little bit of life in that hand. Let's go ahead and turn our nerve curves off, and let's go ahead and watch that and see if that's playing pretty well. And the only thing that's really distracting me is this pinky over here, so let's see if we can't do a little less here with that pinky. Otherwise, I feel like it's working pretty well. See if we can just squash that down a little bit more. And it's hard to see with all the controllers on, so let's go ahead and turn those off and see if that did a little bit better. That's a little better. Yeah, I think that's working pretty well. Let's go ahead and turn our textures back on, and let's see how it looks now. We got some nice little scooty floppy feet. Got a little bit of life in that arm that's holding it. A little bit of swing in that other arm. We got the hips working pretty well. It feels like there's some weight there and a little bit of squash and stretch. We got a little bit of blink that kind of leads the eyes looking up there. Got a little bit of change of expression. I feel like that's working pretty well. So let's go ahead and save it off here and continue that. And maybe we'll change the angle a little bit more. Let's go ahead and play blast that real quick. And we'll just call it Jin Lock. Alright, so I think that worked pretty well. This rig seems like it's a really great rig, really top notch. A couple of things that were a little different than usual with some of the rigs, but I think overall it's a really great rig. Seems like that you can get a lot of animation, a lot of expression, and without a ton of work to get it there. The only thing that I'm seeing now is we have might have to pick up those steps a little bit more because we've got some intersection on the till. So we could either turn the rotate down a little bit more, or we could do, let's go ahead and take the toe bend. Maybe we'll do a little less there. We just don't want so much intersection in there. So let's see how. Let's kind of see if we can't match up the translate Y's now. We raise those up a little bit more. A little better, and we could have a little bit of intersection there. That's fine, but I'm just not as much as we had before. It was like half the toes in there. Yeah, I feel like that's going pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a glance back at what we started off with our inspiration for today. And adjust that over here. Wherever I go, I try to have a pencil and paper handy. For me, it's always been about art. My master plan is just ABC, always be creating. And if you can make an art style that can hold up over the years, I think that's a great way to approach things, is that you don't always have to be that top-notch pushing level of, you know, rendering and you know, really trying to make sure you're at the tippy top of the technology of whatever medium it is that you're in, but just something that can hold up for over the years, that speaks to people, that resonates with your audience and makes them have some sort of reaction or feeling or emotion or something behind it, is really the key in all that. So that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Remember to throw some thumbs up if you like this stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Leave any sort of comments that you want down below. Anything that we can do to help you guys out more, or you know, if there's different ideas that maybe you had for this walk, definitely let me know in the comments below, or the ways you could have approached that. Or if you do an animation with this rig as well, definitely don't hesitate to share it back, and we can go ahead and promote that as well and talk about what you did. That being said, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Keep on animating, keep on creating, keep on inspiring, and keep on being imaginative, and we will see you tomorrow for some more animation.